Okay, here we are, about ready to go out on a float trip on the Snake River. Unloading the boat, be on the water in a few minutes. This trip is out of Jackson, Wyoming. Okay, the boat's going in the water now.
But we'll be on sections where it's 20 feet deep. Okay. We'll be on sections where it's only a foot deep. Okay. So it varies a lot.
This is a workout. Look at you.
Yeah, just to get across. This section, this little rapid below us here, is one of sort of the unique features on the river. As we go by the waves, you'll notice that they're created by big rocks underneath the water. Those rocks are called glacial erratics. They were bulldozed in front of the glacier. A couple things to point out. If you look downstream, sort of judge the age of the water feature by the size of the trees. And if you look to river right and river left, you notice these trees are actually 150, 120, 160 years old, depending on the species. With pretty good indication that they've been growing there for a long time. If you look to river left, you notice there's some smaller trees before you get to the tall ones. Back in 1997, we had over 700 inches of snow, and the high flows sort of washed out the edge of the river there, and the trees are just beginning to grow back. But we'll be on channels later on where the vegetation is only a foot or two high. Pretty clear indication that those channels are new. The plants are just beginning to grow back. So the point I'm trying to make is this landform, this channel, has been here for centuries. Come those Tetons, that's the view.
Oh, look at that view. Oh my Lord. This is beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Oh my.
And my guess is there are climbers on the top of the Grand as we speak. This would be a beautiful morning to summit. And the general rule of thumb is they want to be on the top and off before noon, because that's when we get thunderstorms that begin to brew up. And that's just a lightning rod up there. You want to get off the top.
Beautiful.
This big boulder in the river here, this is called Boy Scout Rock. As a general rule of thumb, you do not want anything named after you in a river. Yeah. So the Boy Scouts hit that 5 or 6 canoes in a row. All of them tipped over. All of them went for a swim. It was a hot July day there, so no harm, no foul, but forever known as Boy Scout Rock. This is the remnants of a pyroclastic flow that came down from Yellowstone. If you look at the, well, it's covered the whole valley. So 60 or 80 feet thick. This just happens to be a river cut. You know, the Teton Range is a narrow range, so everything's sort of compressed. You have there's so many, yeah. Yeah. I don't see a boat, so this guy may have walked in, which is really a commitment.
Pretty good hike for him.
You know, he came in where we launched.
Oh wow!
So that's pretty good walk.
Fishing?
Fishing.
Fishing.
Fly fishing.
If you notice, it's got fiber, and it's all sort of moving north, and so they're just sort of pushed by the animals behind them.
So they move up the mountain.
Yeah. So
In the sun, what's the pattern?
Yeah. So they in the spring they collected in the refuge near the town.
There's food, right?
Yeah. And that was the historical winter meal where Jackson is right now.
Yep.
But also, you know, there are thousands more. Again, just want to point out, look how thick the soil is on river left. And you'll notice the spruce tree roots are very shallow. They just go as deep as the soil is. The gravel on the bottom was a gravel bar like we have on River Right centuries ago. And so these spruce trees are prone to being blown over. And there's one coming up here. You can see its root ball exposed right on the river's edge. And we'll reconnect to this water and several other little grades that pop
So
off.
in all
and
your time here, I mean, do you have mental pictures of new channels that have been cut and memories
Oh,
of that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
The amazing thing is it took me a decade to sort of go,
Figure it out?
huh,
Okay.
look what's going on here. We get these big snowfalls every decade or so, and the river changes really aggressively, and then it sort of goes quiet for a decade, and then we get another big surge. But you can see the river deposited all this rock right up on top of the bank here. So there was a lot of material suspended in that really aggressive flow. There's another channel down here just about 100 yards that used to be navigable. This bend has gotten much more pronounced. We used to float more or less straight across the gravel bed. And we went into a channel that's going to open up here on the right in a minute. But it is completely plugged with rocks and trees that have been forced into it. You'll see. That used to be a navigable channel.
Really?
And look at the size of the rocks the river carried. You know, those rocks were forced up there. So first eagle coming into view, right in front of us at the top of the dead tree. You see it down there? So its nest is going to be sort of backlit. They do. Yep. And they'll tell you, you know, yeah. And the inspection is for invasives, not necessarily for seaworthiness.
How do they rescue someone out of here? I mean,
You know, it's
it's not a very
You're on your own,
accessible road.
no. We've got radios. We'll call in. There is a 2-track road that runs the west side. Some people will walk out to the highway. I mean, it's an all-day event. And then usually, if a raft or a canoe tips over, then there's paddles and coolers and
all in the
flip-flops
river.
all in the river. So the Park Service and oftentimes the outfitters are the cleanup crew. Fortunately, injuries are few and far between. Usually it's just people getting wet and sort of embarrassed. But every now and then you get into trouble.
It's almost like punishment.
Love to hang in the little depression right along the edge of the tree.
Snap it up.
Yeah. So all the woody debris that's been deposited in the river is going to bode well for the fishing for the next 5, 6, 8, 10 years.
Okay, so here's one of these rocks places.
So sort of a cool thing going on here, if you look directly to the right and upstream, you'll notice the bank has a uniform angle. This is called, it's achieved its angle of repose. It's about 45 degrees where gravity, which wants to pull these stacked round rocks down, and friction is holding them in place. Enough so that plants are even growing in. But right here, immediately below us where the vegetation disappears, the river is hit hard against it and has eroded that angle of repose. And so the top part is crumbling and it's trying to build the angle of repose from the bottom up. Somebody asked about depth. Notice how narrow the river is. This is one of the deepest sections. This is about 20 feet deep here. But this
So will
whole
it continue to erode this out, probably cut it out?
keep coming until it reaches that angle of repose, yeah? And you can see what the material is made of. I mean, that is just inherently
It's like
unstable.
sand.
And this is about a 2-foot drop here. Watch these Tetons grow. Isn't that great? They just loom up.
It's just like they're there.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, they're just there. Yeah.
You remember the Church Universal and Triumphant? You ever remember hearing about that back in the 70s and 80s? Reverend Moon, some young Moon.
Oh, yeah.
So they had a big compound up in Gardner, Montana, and some of their prophets believed that there was I'm mixing terms, but a karmic center of the universe in the Tetons.
Oh.
This was a very special place for them. That religion, I think, is defunct. I don't know what's happened.
Can't imagine.
the beavers were really hammering this bank. And when that lodge washed out, of course, that cottonwood stand got a reprieve. But this gravel bar on the right was not here in May. This is all new material. Flushed downstream. Some of the trees got caught on it.
You can't really fight the water.
They put a report out every day.
Pardon?
They put a report out every day.
They really don't. You know, they rely on the outfitters who are on it day to day to sort of go in if something dangerous happens. And this is where things start getting moosey. All this new habitat, the channels braiding up into multiple threads, means it's easier traversing and better feeding for the moose. So that cover's pretty thick. A moose can disappear behind one of these bushes. So in May, this was all solid ground. The river just eroded over here to this side and left this little one willow bush all by itself out in the middle of the river.
Willow will be gone.
Yep.
So
this is the sort of corner that a canoeist coming in a little bit too hot, a little too much speed can get into trouble.
Wow, that bush way up there. To the right. Branch.
Oh yeah. And where do you see it?
Right there.
Yeah, that'd take you out. And see these stakes up here on the top of the cliff? That used to be that 2-track river road. And so
it's already eroded that far.
It's eroded back. Yeah, and this cliff down here, there's a picture in this week's local paper with an image from here, and it's eroded 15 feet into the road.
Oh, the road's right there by those sticks?
Just a dirt jeep track. Yeah. But you can see again how the material is collapsing from the top and re-establishing this angle of repose. But this So you can see where the current is being forced to left is actually overtopped the bank and is punching through all these new little channels here. These are the sort of things that beckon someone with a canoe. Oh, cool!
Right.
Let's go down there.
Yeah.
And you can go around the corner and find a dead end. So there's another eagle nest coming into view. See where the aura is pointing? That tallest cottonwood tree. If you come down from the center and slightly to the right, you'll see a big sort of pile of sticks there. That is the eagle nest. That we're good. Thank you.
You draw like 6 inches of water.
Yeah. You look at water everywhere here. Multiple layers. Water left. 5 or 6 different elevations. Yeah, the beavers have really chewed on the trees on this left bank here. You can see particularly down below us a little bit. A lot of trees right at the river's edge. Okay, I'm going to pivot us back around again. So pretty clear beaver action there. Yeah, isn't that incredible?
It's amazing.
Yeah, they're not shy. They'll take a big tree down without even thinking about it. So this tree ripped out of the bank, but the beaver will come and harvest all the green branches. They strip the trees of their bark, they eat the little branches and the leaves, and they're going to discover this a lot easier to swim up to a tree that's already down than have to chew it. Yep. This bank along here on River Right has a lot of beaver activity. There's a little side channel further to the west there, and the lodge is back there, and they'll come out here and harvest these trees. Isn't this great?
Yeah.
Yes, eagle right there. Good spot.
Eagle.
Good spot.
Eagle in a tree.